This episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast is brought to you by Intercontinental San Francisco Hotel. They are hosting our podcast tomorrow, which is Monday, July 25th at 7 p.m. in the Bay Area. We are super looking forward to meeting you all and seeing some familiar faces again. We just wrapped up a podcast in Las Vegas, and that was fantastic. And that's what you're about to listen to tonight. It was El Dia Después. Obviously, the game was last night in Vegas, which we all attended. And I personally had a great time, even though Real Madrid lost. It was really cool to just be in Vegas, and there were a lot of Madridistas in attendance, and the city was really just good vibes all around. Very peaceful, good vibes, respectful fans everywhere, and I thoroughly enjoyed the atmosphere in the stadium. I thought both sets of fans did a fantastic job to add to the incredible atmosphere. Great stadium as well. Allegiant was awesome. Very nicely controlled temperature, which is not something I'm used to going to the Bernabeu, so that was also a nice plus. Great Wi-Fi, also another bonus. But it was just a great vibes weekend all around. And thank you to everyone who came to our podcast today. Congratulations to Christian, Mustafa, and Kenneth for winning signed pictures from Luka Modric, Keylor Navas, and Pepe. And we got more prizes to give out tomorrow in San Francisco. So brush up on your Real Madrid trivia if you're looking forward to getting some signed stuff from the Real Madrid players. We're going to jump into tonight's podcast, which was, again, from today's live recording. I've chopped it up quite a bit, just so you know. It's about 22, 23-something minutes like that. The entire podcast was nearly 2 hours. I chopped it up because generally what I've found with these live podcasts, it's a totally experience for those who are listening at home. And you can't really get all the nuances and context. It's extremely interactive, and there's a lot of like inside jokes, and there's things that happen off the microphone that you wouldn't understand at home. So putting the entire podcast is a disservice to you. So I've chopped it up and made sure that, you know, it's easy to listen to for you guys at home, because sometimes you won't be able to hear everything with the, you know, because there's other people who come on stage. Maybe they don't speak as loud. You can't hear them. So I've put together a compilation of talking points, which mostly that starts with the whole Rudiger at left back thing, Ancelotti's reasoning behind it. As you can tell, my voice is pretty much shot up at this point too from the live podcast. But yeah, there's a lot of different discussions from last night dealing with Barca's press, the lineup, some future midfield options, and other things. And then there's trivia at the end. Again, 22 minutes or so the entire podcast runs. It's not the full thing. The full thing really is, forgive my cliche statement, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So congratulations to those who were part of the Vegas podcast experience. It was magical, and we look forward to meeting you guys tomorrow night in San Fran. All right, enough blabbering. Let's set this up with Ray Hudson and Derek Ray. Let's go.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid Podcast! ¿Cómo no te voy a querer? ¿Cómo no te voy a querer? Si vienes de ropa que otra vez. ¿Cómo no te voy a querer? ¿Cómo no te voy a querer? Si vienes de ropa una y otra vez.
¡A Madrid!
Let it be known that Barcelona strive for beating Real Madrid in preseason friendlies. Real Madrid focuses on winning Champions League trophies, and the Managing Madrid podcast focuses on hype and energy with the best fans in the world. So a huge talking point that we haven't touched on yet was the fact that Rudiger played left back and Alaba played in the middle. Right. And to me, because a lot of people were asking, like, why is this happening? And my initial analysis when I was watching it was like, probably because they wanted someone to defend Rafinha one-on-one. And you kind of saw, like, remember that sequence when Rafinha tries to get around him and Rudiger just like, you're just like pushing him like some kind of gnat, just pushes him out of the way.
Where you think you come?
Yeah. So, like, and Rudiger one-on-one is impeccable, one of the best in the world. And so I thought maybe that's why. Ancelotti actually addressed it after the game where he said he wanted him to switch. And he didn't say this part specifically, but, I mean, he had Mendy and Alaba do this a lot last season because he wanted to take advantage of Alaba in the final third, but he also wanted to have Mendy on the field because defensively Mendy's a wall.
Right.
And so, and I thought the understanding between Mendy and Alaba was really good last season and that they could switch on the fly really well. And I thought maybe he wanted to expect that this season, but he also said something else. He said, I don't want to mess with the center-back partnership that won me the double last season.
Right.
And that was to me a really big statement to make because you just signed Rudiger, one of the best center backs in the world, and if you don't want to break up Alaba and Militao, I do wonder if maybe he goes with that back four in the beginning. Again, it's preseason. Who knows? Who knows? But
even though Mendy saved us against Chelsea.
Yeah.
At the line.
Yeah.
City. Yeah, I know it's a blur. We just beat them all, and like, it was the same game. It was comebacks and heroic.
We played 4 finals in one year.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice? Though? Rudiger really like stepped up into the like organizing everybody else. It was like him and Alaba mirrored each other. Like there was times where they were screaming at each other on the back line. Like they both had their hand up. Like here's the line, here's this, and it was like they both did it. So Alaba used to be on his own with that, and now he's got like backup in that instance. So I mean that would be crazy. It may almost have the potential of like the Sergio Ramos Pepe days, right? Because Alaba has kind of like that football IQ that Ramos did, and he didn't have that pace, right? As much as Pepe per se. So he would stick on people, and he would play like the IQ game as a defender. And Rudiger could just be our bulldog, like Pepe.
Like, shithousery too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the good kind.
Yeah,
There's like despicable shithousery, like the Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, Raul Garcia. Yeah.
Oh, God.
But then there's like the class shithousery, like the Pepe, the Rudiger, the ones that, something that Ancelotti also did say yesterday that was interesting, I thought, was that he also clarified the fact that he does not see Alaba as a left back, which was a huge question mark that heading into the season all summer, reports all in the Spanish press, even at Managing Madrid, that Ancelotti wants Alaba as a left back. But he clarified that last night. I think it partly has to do with Alaba himself probably not wanting to play left back, but he did also clarify that. So I thought that was interesting. So it'll be interesting to see, like, it almost seems like it comes down to Rudiger and Mendy in Ancelotti's eyes. And I promise this is not reactionary to Militao's pass last night that led to the Rafinha goal. But I do think the one I'm interested to see most is Rudiger, Alaba, and Mendy. I think that gives us our best combination of ball progression and defensive stability and organization. And I have nothing against Militao. I think Militao is going to be a very important defender if he's not already. And I think some of the stuff that we see from him in last season is growing pains. But he has that heroism in his heart and his ability to stop last second challenges or whatever to save goals. He has that. But I do think Rudiger is good, healthy competition for him. And I also think based on last season, what we saw, and also the trips to South America, he needs to rest more. So I think naturally we'll see Rudiger, and we'll see different combinations because the season is long. We have that freaking Club World Cup this year and the World Cup.
Let me bounce off.
But to your point, to your question, you said it. You kind of answered it in a way that you already said Modric is probably maybe the greatest midfielder of all time, but at least to me in the short list. Okay, given that, can the new generation live up to that? If that's what we're labeling Modric rightfully as, the answer is almost no.
Yes.
So, and we have to be okay with that in some sense, I think, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because there's going to be cycles. Eventually, other great players will come. I think we change our style of play a little bit with Modric gone because what Modric did was so unique in our club's history that I have to say, like, he was the closest thing to Di Stefano, just in the term, in the sense of the amount of ground he covered.
Yeah.
He was the right back, the right winger, the central midfielder, the defensive midfielder, the attacker.
he did everything on the field, and it was necessary from him because our structure was so chaotic during our entire dynasty that if you didn't have someone like him, like Spider-Man, to just glue it all together and do everything that was needed and put his body on the line, we wouldn't have been able to win all those things. So to get someone to do that again is asking a lot. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to be successful. I just think that we have to shift our style of play a little bit. And I think, I do think though, if you're going to pair Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Fede Valverde, or any combination of those two together, I think you would need to have the third kind of guy like a Modric or a Cruz to help to progress the ball a little bit. So, possibly. Kubo, have you seen Kubo play the last 2-3 years? But we'll see what happens at Real Sociedad. So, I don't, like, with Modric, you can kind of see the transition, right? Because we have these young players, and really, there could be no better learning curve for someone like Camavinga than to come into his first year, come into the Champions League like he's been playing like as a whole life and not as a teenager, experience the winning, and then go into the locker room after during the Champions League celebrations on the 14th, hearing Modric say, "We got to go for 15 next year." Like, being part of that mentality, that's the best transition we can ask for Camavinga to experience that. So I can see the midfield transition already a little bit, but the striker, I have no idea. I did predict something. If you guys want to if you thought this summer was just full of anxiety and noise and the Mbappe thing and Haaland thing, in 3 years, I'm telling you right now, 3 years, the one who we shall not speak of.
And PayPal?
No matter what we think of him, in 3 years, this is going to come back. But speaking of Benzema's next, I guess the transition, who's next? In 3 years, I think Benzema and Lewandowski will basically leave Barcelona and Real Madrid respectively around the same time. If I had to guess, because they're both taking care of themselves at an elite level, they're the same age, and I think they'll both age well. I bet you in 3 years they'll leave at the same time, and Haaland's termination clause kicks in. Get ready. 3 years, book it. It's going to be a war for Haaland. That's what I predict. Assuming Haaland stays healthy, I think that's what's going to happen. Ancelotti did say after the game we're better than last season, and I agree with him on that. So, what's the new wrinkle? I don't know. I think what I'm most interested in, more so than who's the player, is what is the new system? What is the new wrinkle? What is the new scheme? Because I don't think we're going to go playing the same way with the same players every week like we did last year. I think I asked Ancelotti about this before the first game, and he said we have various amounts of systems that we can use, right? And I think he's going to try a few different things. We already knew he was going to try Hazard as a false nine, but I think he's going to try different combinations, different systems, and we may see like a few different things to start the season, and then he might and then end up sticking with something. But I think that there is definitely room for the team to be more aggressive in his pressing. And if you look at Ancelotti's like history as a coach, what's interesting about him is that for some reason he's had this label because of probably last season that he plays a certain way, he doesn't press. If you go back to Ancelotti's history as a coach, a lot of his teams were highly aggressive pressing teams. He's always been the type of coach who adapts to what the team he has is at the time, the players he has. Go back to our recent history, 14-15, James and Isco together with Cruz and Modric. Very aggressive, high octane, small, short passes, high pressing, aggressive. And so he has that in his repertoire. And for whatever reason that we've documented many times, last season that didn't work. He couldn't get the press going. But maybe this season, we saw in the Champions League when Camavinga and Rodrigo came off the bench, we started to press more aggressively and winning the ball high up the pitch. Do we see more of that from the start next season? I don't know. So I'm more interested in like, what's the new system? I think I'm really confident that Tchouaméni and Rudiger will fit pretty seamlessly. I think they have the character, the mentality, the talent to do that. But yeah, that's definitely what I'm more interested in. Yeah.
I mean, we'll throw in Camavinga in the dark horse thing, like a little
possibly.
bit last year. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
But one thing I noticed, like from yesterday's game, was the ball control that, other than that mess up, that ball control that Camavinga had.
Yes.
Kind of reminded me of a young Marcelo.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know about you guys.
Interesting.
But
Still point.
two points, of course.
It's a different kind of ball control, but it's like so. So do you guys? So there was always a bit of anxiety that I could feel in the Real Madrid crowd,
and I felt it too, but I don't know the expressive press row that like when Barca are pressing and the ball goes to Lucas Vazquez, you know, it's like, I don't know, he doesn't look too confident escaping that press. Like he doesn't have like the physical ability also to just shield it and stay calm under pressure. But like when Camavinga has it, I feel the confidence. And same with Tchouaméni, same with same with Kroos, Modric. They're confident with the ball and they can shield it, they can control it, they can just calm. Like I always say this about Modric, it almost like he injects some ice into his veins before a game. It's like no matter what's happening around him, he's just like so serene, so calm, and always looking vertical. That's the cool, crazy thing of Modric. They don't even look for the safe pass. It's like, I'm just going to dance around and then just go vertical.
Ahead.
Exactly.
They don't play scared.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so, I think to your point, Camavinga has that. Whereas I didn't have that same confidence when Lucas Vazquez had the ball, for example, on that side. And I think that's part of the reason why Camavinga was so important yesterday to me, was that he was just going on that side a lot to just help escape. So, yeah, I think definitely... Listen, if Carvajal can't stay healthy, if Carvajal stays healthy, it's a different conversation. We saw him against Liverpool in the final, was amazing against Luis Diaz. If he can't stay healthy, it's going to be problematic, right? And it's kind of like the backup striker. It's hard. Who's it going to be? Odriozola is not someone who you can really trust right now either. And Vazquez, I think, is good as like your second or third option, but not as the guy who starts. Of course, we all love Vazquez.
Lord Vazquez.
Oh, you like Odriozola? Yeah. Well, I said that I remember writing an article in January of this year when, I don't know if you guys remember, but 538, which is a sports like analytics website, they put out Champions League odds, and it was like City, Liverpool, Bayern, Chelsea, Ajax.
We were not in the first 10.
Yeah, we were not even like, it was not even like entertained. And I remember writing an article at that time and listing like, these are all the reasons why you can't count Real Madrid. And I remember some people commenting like, Kiyan, we're playing like shit. You can't expect us to win the Champions League. Like, I've seen Real Madrid win the Champions League so many times in this exact scenario where no one is expecting it from us. We're not playing well. And you can never, no matter what year it is, I don't care if it's 2022, 2032, 3035. If you put money against Real Madrid in the Champions League, that's a massive risk. It's a risk. What's that?
October 27th, plus 1,800.
Yeah.
I bet.
Can you list off the teams that were, do you have it there?
I didn't make the bet. I
Okay.
did not.
Wow.
We were not. And then I rebet. I forgot I bet, and I rebet in December. Wow.
Oh, that's your bet.
That's my bet.
Oh, wow.
For us to win the Champions League final.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much you bet?
Nice.
Wow. What'd you bet? I didn't bet that much money, but I won.
Amazing. So, yeah, I mean, see, you're smart. But a lot of people, so I remember writing that article, and you can't, so that's why when you said next year, I'm in. Odriozola. One thing I wanted to say is that I unfortunately had to watch every Fiorentina game last season that he played because it's part of my job. I do not recommend other people do this. Please go outside and see your friends and get some sunlight. I watched them all. And one of the things I noticed about Fiorentina is that for someone like Odriozola, it's perfect because he doesn't have to defend much. Like Fiorentina go 3 at the back. They send Odriozola basically to the opposing corner flag, stay there and attack. Yeah, and so they can kind of mask that. The thing with Odriozola at Real Madrid is that they're not going to cater to that at all. Yeah. Being a Real Madrid defender means you basically have to dance on fire every game of your life. That's why Ramos to me is arguably the GOAT defender, because he literally, his entire job was to put out fires. Yeah. He had the hardest defensive assignment. Like I have
I'll turn him on.
I have a lot of respect for some of the greatest defenders of all time. Like, I was a huge Alessandro Nesta fan growing up, for example. You look at Nesta, Cannavaro, Maldini, they never had to play in a chaotic defensive structure. They all, it was organized. Ramos, he was he had to put out everything by himself. And so, Odriozola comes back, he's going to be to the sword constantly, facing a lot of attacks behind him. It's going to get exposed a lot. And I think if Odriozola is going to be the guy you keep, maybe the way he can help is he gets more minutes against some of the quote-unquote weaker sides where they can't expose him. But in those minutes, Odriozola can maybe attack a little bit more, and in those minutes also provide rest for Carvajal so that Carvajal can be fresh for the important games. But it's probably the position I worry about the most, being really honest with you.
What about Vinicius Tobias?
Yeah, Vinicius Tobias, again, I don't know anything about him because I've never watched him, obviously. But certainly, one of my goals this season is to watch more Castilla, which I think is going to be easy because we don't really have any loanees anymore, apart from Brahim Diaz. But I'd like to watch Castilla more, just to keep my eye on him. From what we know, he's basically more of a right winger than a right back. Yeah. Because he can play both positions, and he's very attack-minded, which I think at a club like Real Madrid, that relies so much on the fullbacks in attack, be interesting and important to keep our eye on him. So my answer to that is I don't know enough about him, but I hope that Vinicius Tobias will be good. He's a good option. We also just signed Jesus Fortea, who's this kid from Atletico's youth academy. He's apparently a really promising right back. I think he's going to play with either Juvenil A or Castilla. We're investing right now in young right backs and hoping that one of them sticks. Kind of like we did with Vinicius, Rodrigo, and a bunch of wingers in that era, and some of them panned, some of them didn't. I think we're doing that with right backs right now, so that we can hopefully be set up, 3-4 years.
For Castilla, I like Blanco.
Antonio Blanco, yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah. There's going to be a contingent of Castilla players that we're going to keep our eye on at different teams next season. Blanco's one. Miguel, I don't think is going to stay. I love him. Arribas is another one. Yeah. Thank you, Christian. Oh, sharing. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, you guys ready for some prizes? Okay, so I'm going to ask my friends to come up because they haven't been up. I just want you guys to help me with the prizes. So come up. Larray and Nason. So the thing with I need help with trivia is that knowing who put their hand up first. So basically, I'm going to ask my friends to be the judge. So I do it as fair as possible, and if I don't, at least it's not my fault, it's their fault. So this is my cousin Nason, and this is his girlfriend Larray. Welcome, thank you for coming up. Okay, so your job is to see who puts their hand up first, so that we can give them the prizes if they answer correctly. You have to answer a question correctly.
I'm supporting the ladies, so...
There's some bias there. Yeah, some bias. Marta and Chris are going to be walking home with all the prizes. All right, so here, you hold that for a second. Okay, so there's 3 altogether, and I'm just going to sneak and see which one's the first one.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So, again, this is whoever puts their hand up first. Don't blurt out the answer. Put your hand up so that's fair, okay? There was a player during our three-peat who was known, and let me wait to finish the question, who was known as the barber of the team and cut people's hairs in the locker room. Who was this player? Oscar.
Marcelo.
Nope.
I think she was like...
Camavinga.
Nope.
I thought it was too.
During the three-peat.
Oh!
Is Crystal?
Casemiro.
No.
Lucas Vázquez.
No. Kenneth?
Asensio.
No. Now it's just,
I'm guessing.
Ramos.
no.
God damn!
Mustafa?
I think Ramos.
No. Alright, I guess I'm going home with the prize tonight.
Taylor?
Yes. So this is signed by Keylor Navas.
Now I do remember. That's nice. Now I do remember.
Hey, he's the most underrated player.
Yeah.
And beloved, humble guy.
Exactly. Yeah, he's so underrated. Can we see the photos? I know we're seeing the thing. Is that the answer?
Okay, so this player, on his debut, virtually the first thing he did, it was against this, Barcelona in the Spanish Super Cup. He slide tackled the ball away from Xavi on his very first play as a Real Madrid player. And if you don't get this one, I might make the question easier, but I'm going to try it first like this.
On his debut?
On his debut, Spanish Super Cup versus Barcelona, basically in the preseason. First play was a slide tackle on Xavi.
Luka Modric?
Yes. Luka Modric signed.
I'll sell you my soul for it.
All right, last one.
This goes to my apartment.
What was my question with this one?
Oh, God.
Okay, hold on. Okay. During the Copa del Rey final, when Cristiano, I think it was 2011, Cristiano scored the header in the extra time against Barca. Remember that? One Real Madrid player ran over and did a gesture towards Barcelona fans.
Marcelo.
No?
Oh, God.
Pepe.
Yes.
All right.
So I do have a few more of those, but not with me, but I'm going to give them out at the San Francisco podcast. So if anyone's coming up to San Fran, we're doing a podcast there tomorrow night. So you can win more if you guys feel like driving up to San Fran tomorrow. That concludes the show, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. I can't tell you how much I love you guys. It's so nice to meet you all. Seeing you guys again, some of you meeting you for the first time, people I know that I basically know you because I've known you through the podcast. So it was a great pleasure. Please stick around and have drinks. We can hang out for a little bit. But this was the pleasure is mine. Thank you guys so much. Love you all.
All right, before we wrap it up, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. You do so much to help support the show. And as always, if you pledge $10 or more, you get a specific shout out on the podcast. And in addition to that, you also get guaranteed responses to your questions. And in addition to that, if you're a patron in general, you get access to a ton of bonus content exclusively over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. So if you like these free shows, you get a ton more bonus content inside patreon.com/Managing Madrid. Shout out to these $10 plus patrons who do so much to support the show: Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Wei Pering, Wamik Jamal, Umar Mahadi, Tyler Simon, Tobias Arroyo Botcher, Tariq Goktas, Talib Salhab, Tahmid Kalam, Sushank Damala, Sujai Wani, Sumanshu Singh, Shivam Tiwari, Sherry Sorio, Sheikh Hatiri, Shamil Shabaz Sharipov, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samir Z, Said Mahad, Sai Mohan Sasi Kumar, Rodrigo Balmaceda, Rishi D, Rafi Irfan Zaman, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Diafari, Oscar Barrera, Nico Laxo, Nicholas Zapatero Zubiare, Nicholas Moller, Nick Ribeiro, Nelson Mazariego, Muxi Thangal, Mowgli MJ Diego, Michael Zinberg, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Martin Ridman, Logan Stahl, Leon Stavronakis, Kunal Tilakar, Crystal Glass, Kevin Rivera, Jose Cruz, John Fernandez, Jeff Thurston, Jason Fitz, Ian Marley, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, Faisal Hamdan, S.A. Davisito, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Christian Toff, Christian Acosta, Charles Williams, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Ashik Bashar, Arman Gashi, Armando L, Antons Brudenko, Anirudh Singh, Alexis Saniceros, Al Azaz Hussein, Adrian Rios, Adar Zalukovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Varun, Ramtin Magrur, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. We love you guys so much. Thank you for the support, and thank you for being part of the family, and Hala Madrid.